Zach came to a dead stop in the kitchen. A fleeting wish to still be in the back of the Texan's late-model Mustang flitting through his mind. The desire was shameful and understandable at the same time. On the one hand, any sane person, upon unexpectedly encountering an armed and scary-looking one-eyed stranger in their place of residence, would likely experience an instant desire to be anywhere else. This was a normal human impulse. The feeling of shame stemmed from knowing that not being here in this moment, or until after the man was gone from the house, would condemn his sister to being alone with a murderous psychopath. Zach had no actual knowledge yet of the intruder's intentions or motive for being here, but he figured murderous psychopath was an unfortunately safe assumption. This was an intruder who'd violated the sanctity of their home. He had a gun pressed to Chelsea's head. What looked like an old knife scar trailed down one side of his face, from the corner of his one remaining eye down to the tip of his chin. The scar was a thick ridge of swollen flesh, suggesting a deep slice by a blade of significant heft. He perceived a demented aspect to that one ice-blue eye, which seemed to pulse in its socket. The man was tallish, around 6 feet, and possessed an intimidating physique, with huge muscles that strained the fabric of a black shirt. Zach was familiar with the old saying about not judging a book by its cover, but in this case, he felt perfectly justified in doing so. This guy was a psychopath, no doubt about it. Zach froze in place and felt his guts curdle as the man took the gun away from Chelsea's head and pointed it at him. His mouth was hanging open, and he had a thumb hooked under one of the straps of his backpack in preparation of removing it. His impression of a statue ended the instant he saw the muzzle of the man's weapon aimed straight at his face. His knees started to shake, then his whole body was trembling. The man's voice was surprisingly soft when he spoke, with an almost feminine quality to it. "I'm going to ask you a question, Zach Murphy. If you don't answer truthfully, you and your sister will suffer. Do you understand?" Zach did not understand. He couldn't imagine what information the one-eyed man thought he possessed that would warrant such threatening behavior. This was also mysterious. He was a normal kid who didn't do bad things or run with a rough crowd. He'd never harmed anyone, and was pretty sure the same was true of Chelsea, who was still in high school. His entire family was respectable and unassuming. They did okay, but they weren't rich, and there was nothing of any great value in their home beyond ordinary things like semi-expensive electronics. There was no secret fortune stashed away in a safe. No rare art masterpieces were hanging from the walls. He had a couple of semi-rare comic books that might fetch around $50 on eBay, but that was about it. Nothing a man like this would be after. He couldn't make the slightest lick of sense out of what was happening, but he made himself nod and stammer out an answer. "What do you want?" The one-eyed man sneered. "I need to know where Jonathan Murphy is."